Hello, people of Reddit. Today I would like to share with all of you how I found out that my fiancé was cheating on me just weeks before we got married. I ended my engagement with her after that. I, male 35, was engaged to my fiancé, F, 33 years for 3 years. We were set to get married in June this year. Me and my ex-fiancé had been together for more than 2 years. We went to the same college and knew each other from there. We weren't really friends or in the same group in college. We just knew each other. Like acquaintances. It was after college was long over and I was already working in Wall Street that we met again at a friend's party, that we reconnected and started dating after some time. After 2 years of being together, I thought it was time to make it official, and then I proposed to her to marry me. My fiancée was working with her friend at a thrift store temporarily. She wasn't interested in working after marriage. I proposed to her to marry me when I thought I was financially ready to take care of my family and bear its responsibilities. Everything was going great. We were already living together and were all set to get married till I realized that something was with my fiancée. She stopped being her usual self. She used to make excuses every time I tried to get close to her. We stopped being intimate as she always made some excuses. She always said something about having too much stress as the wedding date was getting closer or having a headache. It did seem weird to me, but I told her it's fine. When I tried to talk to her about it, she told me it's the stress from the wedding preparations. It seemed reasonable. I discussed this with my friends on our guys' night. Many of my friends were married, some even had children. They told me that their wives had also started acting differently before their wedding as well. Apparently, it was common for brides to feel all giddy and panicky. This made me feel a bit better, and I let it go then. I wanted to help my fiancé with the preparations, but I had gotten a very important project at work, and I had to put all my focus on it. My promotion was dependent on this project. I told her that I felt bad that she had to do everything by herself. She told me it's fine, and besides, she had the help of my best friend. Yeah, so my best friend M35 was helping out my wife with the wedding preparations. We had been best buds since our school days, and he had been close friends with my fiancé as well. He was also my best man for the wedding. I was grateful that he got along with my fiancé really well. I didn't want that dynamic where my best friend and fiancé didn't like to see each other's faces. My best friend was going through a bad breakup at that time. His long-term girlfriend had dumped him over a call for someone she found on her vacation. It sucked big time. I thought that sitting alone at the house he shared with his ex-girlfriend could be hard to handle. The wedding preparations were a good way to keep his mind occupied. I was so ecstatic about getting married to the woman of my dreams that everything seemed perfect. Even putting long hours at work didn't seem to exhaust me, because I wasn't doing all this hard work just for me, but for my future family as well. I started noticing the signs that something was wrong at that time. Even though I was working long hours at work, it was my fiancée who would get home late. Even later than me, and I was already coming home late. I asked her where she was going all the time. She made some vague excuse as to how shopping is hard for a bride. "You won't get it," she had told me. I believed her at the time because in my head, I couldn't imagine her lying to me. Even though I tried to believe what she told me, something inside me told me that she's not telling me the whole truth. One day, it was a Sunday, and I had thought of spending the whole day with her without any work or distractions. But she had told me that she's going for her dress fitting. My fiancée was in the shower and her phone was in the bed. Her phone kept getting continuous notifications. I was sleeping, but I woke up due to continuous vibrations. I took her phone to see who's texting her so much. We both had Face IDs on each other's phones and also knew each other's passcodes. However, her phone didn't recognize my face. I then put her passcode, but it said the wrong passcode. That threw me off. We had shared our passwords with each other soon after we started dating. We never saw it as much of a big deal. And now when we are so close to getting married, she has changed her passcode. When she came out of the shower and saw her phone in my hand, she panicked for a second but quickly composed herself. I asked her why she changed her password. She seemed surprised by my direct question. She took a second to reply and then told me it's because there are pictures of her wedding dress and she doesn't want me to see that before the wedding day. Her excuse seemed plausible at the time, but I kept thinking that I never checked her phone anyways. She could have just told me this instead of changing her passcode. It was a small thing, but it was there in the back of mind all day. The next day while I was at work, my fiancé's best friend called me. She told me that she couldn't reach my fiancé and they were getting late for the dress fitting appointment. I told her that she must be at home only. I asked her if they had the appointment the previous day. She replied to me like I was asking her a ridiculous question. The store was closed yesterday. She then hung up the call telling me that my fiancé had replied to her back. I was sure now that my fiancé was hiding something for me. She had definitely lied to me about going to her dress fitting appointment. Now I just had to find out what she was lying to me about. I thought that I wasn't going to ask her directly because I didn't want another bullshit reason fed to me again. I was still at work when I got a call from my best friend. The best friend who was helping out my fiancé with the wedding. He didn't call me much anymore, so it was quite a surprise to get a call from him. He was either at his office when I called him or helping my fiancé with some wedding stuff. He started talking to me, asking me how I was doing and all. I told him I was fine and asked him what's going on with him. We talked for a bit, and then he asked me if something was wrong. I contemplated if I should tell him or not about my fiancé's lie, but then went ahead with telling him about it. I told him how she told me that she was going to Atelier, but then her best friend called today and said that they have the appointment today instead of yesterday. "Oh bro, you're getting worried over nothing," he told me. I asked him how he was so sure, and then he told me that yesterday my fiancé had gone for the dress fitting for the dress she was wearing at the dress rehearsal, and today's appointment was for the wedding dress. I still didn't know if I should believe him or not. I asked him how he's so sure about the truth. He said that he knew as he was helping my fiancé with the wedding preparations, and that they were constantly in touch about everything related to the wedding. I believed him and even felt guilty for doubting my fiancé. My best friend's explanation seemed reasonable. He was talking more with my fiancé than he was talking to me. It was logical that he knew what was actually going on. I released a breath of relief and then got back to my work. Everything went fine for days after that. My fiancé was still acting differently, but it was the wedding stress. She had told me various times that everything will be fine. One day I told my fiancé that I'll get home late as I had a client meeting over dinner. She didn't seem disappointed or sad about the fact that I won't be home. She just told me, okay. However, the client meeting got rescheduled to the next day. When I went home, my fiancé wasn't there. It was already late. I called her up and asked where she was. She then lied to me and told me that she's at home only. She kept talking about how she missed me and was waiting for me to get back home. I heard her lying to me as I looked for her in the whole house. She finally asked me when I would get home. I told her I was already home and waiting for her. I then hung up the call. She got home within half an hour. I made a mental note to remember that she was within that distance. I wasn't going to trust whatever she told me now. My fiancé didn't come back empty-handed. She got all the groceries and stuff. I didn't even have to ask her to explain to me what had happened. She started explaining to me herself how she was going to cooking classes. She told me she was learning cooking as a surprise for me. That's why she didn't tell me that she wasn't at home. I told her that she need not lie to me for such small things. I told her that as my partner, I expect complete honesty from her. She nodded and then came and hugged me. I hugged her back, but my guards were up now. I tried to kiss her, but she turned her head and said that she should put the groceries in the refrigerator. I knew something was up with my fiancé, and I made it my goal to find out what. There were too many things to ignore. The lie she told me today, the lie she told me the other day, also how she changed her passcode. It wasn't making sense at all, but I was determined to find out the reason behind all this. That night, I laid down on my bed thinking about all the various reasons as to why my fiancé was lying to me. None of them really made sense except one. She was cheating on me. I felt a bit guilty for doubting the woman who was going to be my wife in a few weeks. But there was another thought as well. I should find out whatever is going on before our marriage. It would be a disaster if my suspicion comes true after we get married. I didn't want a life like that. I thought about sharing this with my best friend, but for some reason thought it was best if I didn't. He was already going through a bad breakup. Listening to my suspicion wouldn't be good for his mental health. I decided that I'm going to find out what's going on alone. It was better not to tell anyone because if it turned out that there was nothing to worry about, which I was really hoping for, I didn't want to trouble anyone for nothing. I started keeping an eye on my fiancé's activity. I checked the CCTV camera placed outside our home to see who all were coming to my house in my absence. The CCTV camera didn't give out anything. It was my fiance living in the house shortly after I left for work and then getting home really late. I already knew that without the help of CCTV. I kept thinking as to what could help me more, but nothing came to my mind. I could have used her phone, but she had changed the passcode. There was only one option left. It was to follow her and see where she was going. It seemed a little too much to me, but I needed to find out the truth before our marriage, so I decided to follow her around. The next day, I told her that I was leaving for work. I left the house but didn't go to work. Instead, I parked my car a few lanes ahead of our house and waited for her to leave the home. I kept checking the front camera to see when she left the home. As soon as she left the house, I started following her, but keeping a lot of distance between my cars and hers so she doesn't get to know. She went to the thrift store and stayed there for a while before going to the florist. After that, she went back home. I felt like an idiot for doubting her when she was doing the normal things only. But those things she did were still stuck in my head. I thought that just because she didn't do anything different doesn't mean there isn't something. It'll just take time to figure it out. I thought I'll follow her for another day or two, and if I still couldn't find anything, then I would let this suspicion go. Finally, everything was fine when I got back home that evening. I repeated the same thing the next day. My fiance didn't do anything out of the ordinary that day as well. I knew something was wrong, but she was not doing any different these 2 days. I got the suspicion that maybe she knew that I was following her, but I quickly shunted it out of my head. I haven't told this to anyone, and I also made sure that there was enough distance when I followed her car. The third morning, I got a call from my best friend regarding my bachelor's party. I told him I was good with whatever he liked to plan. There was a lot of sound in his background, some very loud songs. I knew it was an old Spanish song. I couldn't ask him where he was as I got another call from work. I had to urgently go to the office for some work. I thought that there wasn't much point in following my fiance around anyways. She was doing the same things in her routine only. I went to the office and did some work. I got a call from our jeweler who was making our wedding rings. He told me that wife still hasn't given her ring size. They didn't have her number, so they called me. I then called my wife to ask her for her ring measurement. What surprised me as soon as she picked up the call was that in the background, loud old Spanish songs were playing. I asked her where she was, and she told me that she was with her best friend. Her best friend, not mine. I told her what the jeweler had said. She said that she'll go to the store in the evening and will give her ring measurement to them. I ended the call, but something wasn't sitting right. Maybe it was a coincidence that I heard loud old Spanish songs in the background of my fiance and my best friend. But I didn't think it was a mere coincidence. I called up my best friend again and asked him where he was. He told me he had come to a cafe for a client meeting. My friend worked in an event management company. That's why he offered to help out my fiance. However, when I heard a high-pitched laugh background, I knew who that laugh belonged to. My fiance. The laugh immediately got silent. My friend made some excuse as to how he got to go and ended the call quickly. My fiance, nor my best friend, had any reason to lie to me if they were together. I knew they used to hang out together regarding weddings and stuff. So why did they lie to me? I think in my subconscious, I knew the answer. I just didn't want to accept so quickly. I decided to keep quiet until I have something substantial to call them out. Instinctively, I didn't go directly to my house after work that evening. Instead, I went to my best friend's place. His car wasn't there. I checked the time. It was 6:00 then. I went to my house then. I checked the time when I got home, realizing it took me only 23 minutes to get home from his place. The night my fiance told me she was coming from cooking class, it took her the same amount as well. At this point, I just knew that both of them were lying to me. I just needed to see from my eyes to confirm my suspicion. I went inside my house and my fiance wasn't still here. I got freshened up and kept thinking about what's happening in my life. I was about to get married and my fiance was cheating on me. And that too with my best friend. I still had a small hope that all my fears would go to vain and my suspicion would turn out to be wrong. I really hoped for it to be wrong. The next day, I again followed my fiance. She still went to the thrift store like she normally did. She did all her usual stuff, and just as I was getting frustrated for not being able to come to any evidence, I saw my best friend entering the thrift store. This still didn't prove anything. Maybe he was just visiting to help her out with the marriage stuff. He came out of the thrift store after 45 minutes. I still have nothing substantial to either confirm or deny my doubt. It was really getting frustrating. The next morning, I was having breakfast, but then remembered that I had forgotten my file in the bedroom. I went to get it and saw my fiancée getting dressed after her shower. I was just passing by her when my attention fell on the hickey on her shoulder blades. It sure as fuck wasn't me who gave her that, because it's been more than a month since we got intimate with each other. I stopped by her. She seemed surprised as I stopped there. I traced my finger on the hickey. She shivered. It was the scary kind. I didn't even have to ask her who did it. She started her explanation on her own. You know, yesterday I was wearing off-shoulder tops and an insect bit me there. It hurt a lot yesterday. I told her that it doesn't seem like an insect. She got scared at that and started telling me more lies as to how it really was an insect and all. I didn't say anything after that and just got more determined to find out some bloody evidence against that, so I can finally confirm my suspicion. The first thing I did as I got in my car was to check the CCTV recording of the previous day. True to what I had thought, my fiancée wasn't wearing an off-shoulder top the previous day. I saw her getting in the car in some dress which fully covered her shoulder. Even though it was turning out to be completely useless, I spent that day as well following my fiancée around. I finally got something that day. I saw my fiancé going straight to my best friend's house. I saw him coming out and hugging her. They went inside and stayed there for almost the whole day. I knew that if I went there, my doubt would get confirmed and I'd find them in bed with each other. Instead of ringing the doorbell, I used the extra key my friend had given me long ago for emergencies. He had my house's extra key as well. I opened the door silently and went inside. I saw my fiancé's purse lying on the couch in the living room. I followed the way where the noise was coming from. I took light steps so I didn't make any sound and finally reached the bedroom. I could hear their voices clearly. My fiancé was telling him how I almost caught her today. You know, he saw the hickey. We have to be more careful from now. My best friend hummed something, and after that, all I could hear were sexual sounds. I opened the door very slowly and saw my fiancé in bed with my best friend. I took a photo of them with my phone and then shut the door. I had reached the living room when the door of the bedroom opened again and my fiancé came out laughing. I turned to look at her and her smile vanished as soon as she saw me. She was wearing my best friend's shirt and nothing else. She stood there frozen, and my best friend who followed her out also got frozen as soon as he saw me. I was so angry that I couldn't think anything straight. I just went and punched my best friend in the jaw. I told my fiancé that I didn't want to see her face ever again and stormed out of his house. I went straight home rather than going to work. I had no fucking energy for going to work. Even though I had my suspicion, this betrayal stung. My best friend and my woman. Just as I was getting out of my car, my fiancé had also reached home. I told her to get out of my property, but she didn't listen and followed me inside. She was in tears as she begged me to listen to her. I knew that nothing she could say would make it okay for what they had done. But I thought, why not? Let's hear this. I told her to speak. She first went into shock, wondering how I agreed, but then started telling me. All this started when she started planning our wedding. After my best friend's breakup, she said that she was just consoling him as he was really low because of the breakup, and then one thing led to another and they started kissing. It never meant to be anything more. I was just helping him and moving on, she said while crying. The audacity of this woman. You were helping him move on by sleeping with him. I spat in a harsh tone. She got tensed at my voice, but then started telling me how sorry she was and would do anything to make me forgive her. She told me how we had our whole life in front of us, and I cannot let it go because of one mistake she had made. The more she kept speaking, the angrier I got. She was telling me to let go of her cheating like it was nothing. I had told her how important loyalty was to me, and still she did that. I thanked my luck that I found this out before the wedding. Something came to my mind then. I could easily end our relationship right now and tell everyone that the wedding is off. The wedding was in 5 days. Or I could make her and my best friend actually suffer for the betrayal. I decided to go with the second one. I let my fiancée beg some more. She kept telling me how everything can be perfect from now on. She told me this is our chance to turn a new leaf and start our dream life together. I let her convince me about how I should not cancel anything and to let loose in the bachelor party. She told me that it was a once-in-a-lifetime thing. All our guests were coming before so they could attend the bachelor party as well. I thought it was perfect, and then agreed to not cancel anything. She couldn't believe that this was happening. She must have thought that there was no chance that I could forgive her for cheating, and she was right about that. She was just going to find out later what I did with cheaters. The day of the bachelor party came and I met my best friend again. He insisted that he came to my house instead of the club we were going to. As soon as he entered the house, he started telling how sorry he was and how he didn't mean to ruin my relationship with my fiancée. I told her it was okay and I forgave them. I told them that everyone made mistakes. I was giving them another chance. I went to the venue with him and met my other friends. Noon knew that I was faking it here and had no intention to actually do this or whatever. I acted like I was having the time of my life here. That night, I kept thinking about their betrayal. My fiancée was staying at her parents' house till the wedding, and that was for the good only. I didn't think I could see her face and not think about her betrayal. My thoughts went to the day he called me up and told me that she was going for the dress rehearsal dress fitting. He lied to me because she was with him, and they must have known that I had talked to her best friend and knew that the store was closed. I had decided that I was going to end everything over the dinner so everyone knew what had actually happened and why the wedding was being called off. My fiancée was coming with her parents to dinner. I reached the venue earlier and talked with the staff to arrange a projector for me. The guests started arriving. Everyone in our immediate families and our closest friends were present for the dinner. Nuan knew, but I had told the officiant to come a bit late. My fiancée started panicking about the officiant not being there, but I smiled at her and told her that it's fine. I then said to everyone that to pass while the officiant gets here, I had to share something with everyone. Someone in the wedding party said that I can wait to make the toast later, but I said that I wanted to do it then itself. I began my speech by telling everyone how I met my fiancée and how my relationship had been so perfect. My fiancée looked at me with tears while she smiled at me. She was smiling because she didn't know what was coming for her. I told her that I'm really grateful for everything she had done for me throughout. I told everyone how she had always prioritized me and my family first. I told everyone that she is the most thoughtful woman. She thought so much about others that she started sleeping with my best friend just to help him move on. As soon as I said that line, everyone got tense. My fiancée got frozen on her spot. There was pin-drop silence in the hall as I moved my attention to my then best friend. I told everyone how we have been best friends since school. I shared a memory of how in school we punched a guy because he asked out my best friend's then girlfriend. "You really were like a brother to me," I said, looking him in the eye as I took my phone out and displayed the picture I took that day in the projector. Everyone gasped as they saw my fiancée and my best friend in bed naked together. I turned to look at my fiancée, but she was facing the floor. I then went to her and told her to never come in front of me again. I asked for my ring back. I didn't really care about the ring, but I didn't want this woman to have that piece of commitment from me. She gave it to me with shaky hands. I told her that I had already called the movers to move her stuff, so she better not enter my property ever again. Everyone was whispering things to each other while others were staring at us. I thanked everyone for coming and then told them that the wedding is over. Nuyun was shocked at this. Everything that went down, it was obvious that the wedding was not going to take place. I told her that I'll send her the bill for everything. She was shocked at this. I just shrugged and told her that she wasn't responsible anymore. Her infidelity was the reason we were calling off the wedding, so it was obvious that she was going to pay for it. With that, I exited the hall and never looked back either at my fiancée or at my best friend. They didn't try to convince me this time to let things go or for any other shit. The movers came in the next day and took away all her stuff. I made sure that nothing of hers was left behind so she could have any excuse to come back to my place. I didn't have to send her the bills. The vendors communicated to her directly since she handled everything about the wedding, and she didn't have the face to send those bills to me. I blocked her from all social media platforms, including her number. I didn't want any negativity from her in my life. I continued my life with my head held high, whereas someone told me that my ex-fiancée couldn't meet anyone's eyes and therefore had gone to another state to live with her cousins for some days. My best friend never tried to contact me either after that day. He sent my house keys to me through our mutual friend. Everyone knew about their betrayal and no one was talking to them. They were facing the consequence of their own karma. I can't help it. I'm just living my life knowing that I was faithful to my fiancé and a good friend to my best friend. I didn't deserve what they did to me. I'm taking therapy sessions to move on from this and lead a happy life. Thank you to all of you for listening till here. Update. So, it's been 6 months since I last posted and close to a year since I called off my wedding. I got to know through a mutual friend that my ex-fiancé started dating my best friend. Yeah, the one she slept with. They started officially dating 2 months after the wedding was called off. They were happy initially, but as soon as other people got to know, they became the topic of gossip. They started having problems as well, and that's when my ex-best friend started cheating on her with someone from his office. She got to know this some months later. She broke up with him after that. As soon as I got to know this, I thought of sharing this with all of you here since I have shared everything else already. Update. Hello everyone, it's been 2 years since I posted about finding out that my fiancé cheated on me with my best friend. So as in my last update, I shared that she broke up with him as well. After breaking up with him, she tried to contact me again. Since she was blocked everywhere she approached me at this party, she started telling how it seems fitting to ask for my forgiveness in a party since everything began with a party as well. LOL. I laughed at her and told her that even if she was the last person on the planet, I wasn't getting with her ever again. She got quite embarrassed as I was standing with a group of people and everyone started laughing after that. She quickly ran away and never tried to approach me again. My best friend or ex-best friend also tried to approach me after their breakup. He told me that he didn't come earlier because he thought it was best to give me space. He started telling me how my friendship was the most important thing to him. He told me that it meant more to him than any girl would ever mean. I asked him if that was the case, why did he date my ex-fiancé after I called off the wedding? He knew I wouldn't like that. He was shocked at that. He thought I didn't know about them. I laughed at him and told him that I knew everything. I just didn't care. I told him I don't want friends like him in my life anymore. As far as I'm concerned, therapy helped me a lot. I have learned that I cannot carry the burden of others' mistakes on my shoulder forever. I've started to let things go. The betrayal I went through doesn't hurt so much now. I'm also quite happy with my life now. I got the promotion at work for which I was working really hard. I have some actual good friends who helped me when I felt extremely low. My family has also been really helpful. I tried to stay at my home, but there were too many memories with my ex-fiancé, so I decided to sell it off and move to another property. My friends and family helped me settle in here. Shifting finally feels like the starting of a new phase in life. I'm also seeing this beautiful woman from my work now. She knows everything that has happened to me. She is extremely understanding. We are taking things really slow now, but who knows, with time, I will find out that she's the one for me. I'm just taking my time with things. It's hard for me to trust people completely, but I'm trying. I was heartbroken after the betrayal, but time actually heals everything. At that time, I had thought, I won't date anyone ever again, but look at me now. I take everything that happened to me as more of a lesson to never trust anyone too much. People can always deceive us. Another thing this has taught me is that we should be sure about people like life partners and all. My fiancé wanted to marry me because it was going to give her a comfortable life, whereas I had thought that it was love from both sides. I turned out to be wrong there. She knew that if she married me, I'd take full responsibility for her. That was the biggest reason why she wanted the wedding so bad and even came to me after her breakup again. Anyways, thank you for all the support you have shown through comments. It means a lot to me. If you have or are going through something similar like I did, please believe when I say that time actually helps in healing every wound.